Poker's legendary champions, next-generation stars, and tireless ambassadors of the game, sharing their wisdom and guiding your journey to high achievement on the green felt. This is Tactical Tuesday on Chasing Poker Greatness with your host, Brad Wilson.
Welcome, my friends, to another episode of the Chasing Poker Greatness podcast. As always, this is your host, the founder of ChasingPokerGreatness.com, Coach Brad Wilson. And since today is Tuesday, it's a tactical day. I'm joined by Jon. Jon, how you doing, sir?
How's it going, Brad? We got a new concept for today's episode of Tactical Tuesday. We're gonna try out a new format. You want to talk about it, or should I break it down?
I think this is your brainchild.
Okay.
You came up with this. You're the one that put all the pieces together, so go for it.
We're gonna go over two hands that I played over the last week. Both hands are hands where I bluffed the river. Brad has not seen either of these hands. One of the bluffs did go through, and one of the bluffs got bluff caught. Brad is gonna look at both hands without the final river result and try to guess which one went through, which one didn't. At the end of the episode, we'll show Brad and all the listeners the actual result of the hand. There's a little bit of a wager on this too, right? Are we allowed to do this on YouTube or Spotify? Are we sure we're not?
Yeah, I think betting amongst each other is not frowned upon or not illegal. It's just a friendly wager amongst two human beings. We decided after we initially did a take of the intro and realized, we should probably bet on this. So we had to come to terms. So basically, if I get it right, Jon owes me $100 and some pride, and if I get it wrong, I owe him $100 and some pride. So that's where we landed. And so after we look at the first hand, we'll look at the second one, and then we'll show which of these was the bluff, or which of these went through and which of these did not go through. So, Jon, I think you should take it away since this is your rodeo.
Hand number one, this is at 5-10 no limit, playing at a full table. I opened pocket kings from middle position to $25. The button, who appears to be a reg, he's playing 22, 18, 9, or 10 over 106 hands. Has like 130 big blind stack. So really, everything seems to point to him being a reg. I check the flop. The flop is ace, queen, 10, rainbow. Again, I have pocket kings. Reg c-bets, reg floats flop for about 1/3. I was honestly shocked to see him bet this flop at all. I just fully expected this to go check. I also thought that if he was going to bet the flop, it would probably be for a bigger size. Not really sure what sort of hands want to be doing this or should be doing this. If I had to guess, I think I would guess some like weak like ace 3 suited, ace 4 suited that like didn't 3-bet. I don't know, are betting for thin value or something like that. Obviously, you could have some random bluffs too, but
I'm not sure. All of my thought process now is honed in on trying to figure out what villains, the top of villains' range is and what they're doing. I think so. One data point that I can see is that the big blind is a fish. So maybe this comes into play as it relates to villains' flatting range. So like maybe they're a little bit stronger than they otherwise would be. I think that they could have king jack. The top of their range is likely going to just be like king jack and then a set of tens, I would imagine. And like you, I wouldn't expect them to bet very often. I mean, maybe they bet ace jack on the flop here. Maybe that's another one that they flat with and bet. That makes some sense. Yeah. Maybe jack 9 suited, like maybe another one that has an open ender, but
so
nothing for you to do except check call.
Yep.
Right.
I call the flop. Get the 8 of hearts
an
turn. Yep. I check the turn. Button bets $76, about 3/4 pot into $105. I think I could be folding my hand here, honestly. Maybe I should be.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the turn should just be a fold. now I don't know what you beat. I don't know what bottom of villain's range is. Jack 9 is now a straight. Betting twice. I mean, they can't have like king X of hearts because you have the king of hearts. So like king 7 of hearts or something like that. So, I mean, this just feels like a pretty good hand.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think like when I watched this hand back, I was like, yeah, maybe I should probably just be folding the turn.
I don't think it's maybe. I think you just should be folding the turn.
In my defense, I did not think that Jack 9 was like one of the hands that I did not think about for some reason. But yeah, that's totally Jack 9 suited is like completely reasonable hand to expect a reg to flat on the button with the fish in the big blind and bet the flop, and now he has a straight, so bet the turn big. In game, I just remember thinking like I was still like stuck on the fact that he bet the flop small, and I was like, well, okay, now he's like, what are you saying? You have like ace 8 suited, like exactly. It just feels like you're repping so thin. I guess you could have king jack. I guess you could have tens that you don't 3-bet and jack 9.
The problem is it's hard for them to just have 2 blank cards. I mean, like it's just I can't. You have the king of hearts. I don't know. Like even like jack 10 of hearts, maybe something like that, but I don't know why they would bet the flop.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm a little
Do you
confused
expect a
here.
river bet? Do you expect a river bet?
Yes.
Very frequently when you see this size.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I mean,
actually.
the fact that they went bet, like the river bet is coming because I mean, they're polling on the turn.
I
Their
think that
bluffs
makes my
have
call
to
more
bet.
acceptable.
Yeah, so you're calling to set up a river check raise facing the bet, right? Like that's your plan here.
Yeah. So I call. I do check the river, and button goes with overbet. That's $338 into 258.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
we know what's going to happen. We're jamming. So, have we even told the podcast listener the board? I don't even know if we've mentioned the board at this point. The podcast listener is just like in the
I
dark.
said the flop. We said the turn.
Okay, so
River's
the
the
final
queen of
board
diamonds,
here, the final board is the ace of diamonds, queen of hearts, 10 of spades, 8 of hearts. So Jack 9 completes on the turn. The river's a tray of diamonds. John checks. There's 258 in the pot, and the villain bets 338, and now John rips it, and the villain has $865 behind, and we don't know the result yet. Without anything to really compare this to, I think we just need to, hit the brake and move on to the next hand. I guess my thoughts are that villain can call with king jack. I think that's pretty clear call. I don't know what they do. I guess they just call with jack 9. I don't know what they do with like a set of 10s though. Yeah, so anything else they probably fold, but they have a hand here. I think that's very clear that they have some kind of good hand that you're trying to fold, like 2 pair plus.
You don't think they have any bluffs?
I mean, if they have bluffs, then like why are we jamming the river?
I mean,
like, you're trying to fold out 2 pair.
yeah,
right? Like,
no, I'm saying that like I think I can fold out. I'm trying to fold out everything, but I'm just saying like you don't think they have any like bet folds on the river?
no, I'm not saying that they don't have bet
Oh,
folds.
sorry. Any like
I think they
bluffs?
could bet fold like 2 pair, but I mean, whether or not they have bluffs is irrelevant because you're trying to fold out like 2 pair.
Right.
Plus.
I guess I was stuck on the fact that you're like they have a hand here for sure. I was like they don't.
I'm pretty certain they have a hand. I mean, they would just have to be out in La La Land going like bet on this board without a hand. So, all right, we got this one in our brains.
You hopeful that this
can't-
one got through? Just early feelings without the other hand to look at. You think?
My early feeling is I don't know. I need to look at the second hand to compare.
Perfect,
That's
perfect.
my
Right,
that's
what
my
I wanted,
feeling.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah. All right. So stick around after the break. We'll look at the second hand, and then we'll pull back the curtains, and John will, show us the result. Stick around after the break.
You survived pre-flop boot camp. You've shot the fish in a barrel. Now, prepare yourself for the feeding frenzy. A comprehensive strategy for gutting every fish in your player pool. Data-driven hero bluffs, light call-downs, and perfect value bets that are maximally designed to hurt some feelings. Feeding Frenzy. Available now at chasingpokergreatness.com/feeding frenzy.
All right, so we're back with hand number 2 in today's Jon concoction here. We should probably make it to where the YouTube watcher can see, because I believe it's this player, right?
Yeah, it's the big blind.
The big blind. We'll mess around with the overlay. All right. So let's just dive into this hand. I mean, let's cut to the chase and kind of see. And so my thoughts on the first hand are that villain has limited value or limited bluffs and like 3 combos of 10s, maybe the remaining combos of King Jack, maybe 4 combos of Jack 9. So a lot of value in villain's range. So that first bluff feels already like tough getting it through, but also jamming over the overbet, really hard for you to have bluffs there too. This game. It's serving your intended purpose, by the way. Whether you win or lose $100,
This is what I wanted.
Yeah, you get the sweat. Watch me sweat.
I was worried
anyway.
that my biggest fear with this concept was like you just be like, oh, obvious. Like this one clearly never goes through, and this one, has a good chance of going
Well,
through.
I haven't thought about this one very much, so let's look at the second hand and see.
All right, so this hand starts with me on the button. Again, we're playing 1K&L. I opened 7-5 of hearts to $30. The big blind, who looks like a reg. We're about 100 big blinds effective. He defends the big blind. He checks the flop, 9-3 deuce, rainbow with 1 heart. I start out with a half pot c-bet. He calls. Turn is a jack of clubs. There's $126 in the pot. Big blind checks again. I'm just kind of going crazy for no reason here. And
well, it's an overcard. Overcards are generally good cards.
Yeah. I just meant like that. My hand is
Yeah.
clearly unrelated to the board.
Well, sometimes you got to go a little crazy, right? So you bet 70% on the turn with your 7 high. Villain calls. And the river's an ace. So the river completes for 5. You have a 5. Villain checks.
What do you think about river sizing? River sizing first. Yeah, I mean, I do put out the tiny 1/3 on the river. But would you have just gone big? I think big is standard, but
I would have just gone big personally.
Yeah.
But
so I've been thinking a lot about the last episode of Tactical Tuesday.
Yeah, I know.
I've
You
been
told
thinking
me.
about what we've talked about, like the induction size on the river a lot. And kind of my conclusion, like long story short, after like listening to that episode like 3 times, is that I should use this to bluff more often.
All right.
Well,
Well,
so I guess like we'll just quickly going into my logic on the river. I think villain gets the river with a lot of like 1 pair bluff catchers, probably a lot of 9x. Yeah, probably just like a ton of 9x. And I think like on this particular run out, they're gonna struggle to like have the desire to call with their bluff catchers, like facing this tiny bet. I thought that they would think that I'm not bluffing here often enough, and that they would turn some of their like 9x bluff catchers into bluffs. And also like they can find value raises with like hand like ace deuce or ace 3 or even like ace 9, and I can rip over that and just kind of put them in a tough spot, given that they never have like aces, jacks, 9s. They probably don't even have 4-5, because I think 4-5 just check raises the flop a lot.
And they could just fold a tray or a
Sure,
deuce
sure.
if they decided to call the turn.
Yeah, maybe he just
with
folds a
small
9
bet.
here and thinks like, oh, he never bluffs the size. I'm just gonna fold.
Yeah, you have a lot of available bluffs, I think, is the problem with the 9. Is like 8-10, queen-10, king-queen. You just have a lot of hands that you can bluff with.
Right.
But you also have like ace-4, ace-5 that can go like thin value as well.
Yep.
All right, so we're using the induction bet with 7 high 1 week later after last week's episode. God only knows this. That's right. We're now inducing with 7 high. Okay.
Yes, this is exactly what I wanted.
So
Man,
we
we
get
come such a long way from.
we get raised. I remember coaching sessions from like years ago talking about like small size bluffs on the river. It's amazing. It's amazing how far you've come in the past year.
Just to recap the action, I bet 1/3 pot on the river. I bet $93 until like 288, and the big blind check raises to $360.
Right. And because this is me trying to figure out which of your bluffs went through,
I jammed, by
it
the way.
means another bet is going in the middle here. So you bet 3-bet the river. So you do have all the 4-5s.
I have aces, I have jacks, I have nines. I don't know if I would actually bet the river small with those hands, but I don't know. I mean, those are hands that I very, very much have, and he very, very much doesn't.
Yeah. I gotta say. All right, so man. So the first hand, I think. The first hand, I think you can get some hero folds. Because like it's really hard for them to figure out what bluffs you have. But King Jack is a very natural part of their range. Here, you said that you think villain check raises 4-5. See, now I have to use like data points on your analysis here of the second hand. Like,
Yeah, I
you
really
think villain,
shouldn't have said anything.
Yeah, which basically
I knew this was gonna happen. I knew I was
Yeah.
just gonna talk too much, and yeah.
Yeah, so basically, like, you think villain will check raise the 4-5, which means they probably don't have 4-5.
I mean, come on, you gotta think they don't have 4-5, even if I didn't say that. Like,
I mean,
how do you not check raise 4-5? Don't you just look at the swap and you look at 5-4 in your hand and you're like, wow, this is the one.
I mean, I think that like it's going to be check raise with a high frequency. I don't know if it's going to be an absolute frequency. I also don't know how many like 4-5 offs they defend with. And I think that they will sometimes 3-bet 4-5 suited from the big blind as well. So
Yeah, it's also kind of a stretch to have them just like check call a turn with 4-5, honestly, right? Like that's
yeah, I mean,
not
like
very
deuces
regular.
and trays are the most likely hands that they have here. Like flopping a set of deuces, flopping a set of trays. I think those are the most likely hands in their value range. The problem,
check raise flop or turn at some frequency too, especially deuces. Like, I think are just gonna check raise flop a lot.
I mean, they got to have something, John. They got to have some kind of value
Yeah,
hand
like ace
to
deuce,
check
ace
raise
three,
with.
ace 9, jack 9. That doesn't check raise the flop or turn.
Yeah, well, like I think deuces can make sense because, especially with what you have and the actions you've taken thus far, they can trap another bet on the river,
Yeah.
likely
Yeah,
a big bet by calling from your low equity hand. So I think like deuces and trays are likely here. Do deuces and trays fold to your jam? I don't know. I feel like this is the one that gets caught. But this is like such a loose formation.
It's like, what bluffs do I have? Really? Like, you just like, I would bet queen 10 or 10-8 small on the river, like hoping, like that's just.
I mean,
I would never think
deuces and trays can beat ace jack if you decide to rip for
Sure,
value.
Sure. Oh, that's a good point.
The king's hand. The problem with the king's hand, like villain does just have the nuts. Like they could just have king jack, and it's like quite easy.
Right.
Oh my god, this is such a predicament here. I can't drag this on forever, so I really need to make a final judgment.
It's a flip. Come on, just.
No, there's information here, John. It's more.
Yeah, if there's information and the decision is close and one got through and one didn't, then it's just a flip.
Yeah. You keep pushing on like the hands that they could have in this hand, and I don't know why. The other hand, you
No,
seem
I
to
think
be.
the other one, the other one, I just I really struggled to I think like I made a mistake like on the flop and turn. Like I just did not give them like I thought they 3-bet tens. I thought like yeah, okay, fine, maybe they flat like king jack offsuit and like some. I didn't even think about jack nine suited. Honestly, I wasn't even thinking about it. Like I was like, yeah, they have king jack offsuit, but whatever. I have two kings. Like I don't know what they're saying they have. Like I was like, I guess you have like ace eight or ace three, and think that like I just never check an ace on the flop or turn, and like you think I'm just gonna bluff catch a lot, or like maybe once I call a turn, you think I'm like I have a decent number of aces, and you're just gonna go crazy with your ace eight and ace three and try to like get me to bluff catch for the max. Yeah, I don't know, just a lot of thoughts going through my head in that end. A
So
lot of which were wrong, I think.
I'm gonna ask you a question here before I place my guess.
No, I'm not gonna.
You don't have to answer it, right? The question is, in your analysis of either hand, have you been forthright in your thoughts or any manipulation here, given the dynamic?
Everything I said was actually like what was going through in my head.
Man, I'm so untrusting of you right now.
I'll tell you, I like deliberately withheld a piece of information that I was planning on telling you and the viewers at the beginning of the episode, but then we put money on it, and I was like, I don't know if I want to say this now. So like, I did withhold information, but I didn't say anything that was like.
Yeah, I think this is the one that doesn't go through. That's my thought. So that
does not go through, and the kings goes through.
That's what I think. Yeah.
All right, you sure?
Yeah, lock it in. Final answer. You're smirking right now, so we're gonna have to upload the other video and show it for the YouTube listener because I don't know the answer either. So stick around. Just one momento. All right, we got it loaded up, and so now we got the moment of truth. So for the podcast listener, hand number one, the kings. That's the one that I said I thought went through, right?
Yep.
All right. So we see what Villain has on YouTube right now. Villain has tens, so they're going to have a set. They do flat the button, which, by the way, I did think that they would flat hands like tens on the button here because of the fish in the big blind. I don't know exactly why, but I mean, I just have to imagine that's why they flatted because it's almost just
I mean, like tens is not some like, it's not some insane flat that I think people
That's true.
are going way out of their way. If you mix tens on the button facing MP open, like I would be like, yeah, that's I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is like a high-ish mix facing UTG, and probably MP. So this is it, right? The moment of truth, the overbet. So tens, bet small, bets big, and then overbets. Jon jams the river. And
no,
it goes through. Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think Villain can find some hero folds here.
Yeah. Jeez, you called it. He did. This is a massive hero fold. Oh, is it? I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what folding tens here is. Is it really a hero fold when you overbet the river and get jammed on?
I don't know if it's a hero fold, but it's a set that goes in the muck. Like, it's a big fold. Yeah. Probably a fold that is correct. I think you got to be some kind of psychopath to have bluffs here. But unluckily for them, they ran into the psychopath who had
folded really fast.
I
remember that.
Yeah. I think you should just fold at the turn for what it's worth.
Yeah. I agree. I think I should just fold the turn.
Which means this one is probably not going to go through. So, Villain in the second hand for the podcast listener has ace jack off. The flop was deuce straight nine. Jon bet half pot. They called. Turn was a jack. They check called, and then the river was an ace, and Jon bet a third. They decide to check raise his third pot river bet here. Jon bet 3-bets it all in, and Villain calls. We've talked about the bet 3-bet before. About how the saying is how the saying goes, I'm going to raise here and then fold, right? this is what people always say, like during Poker Power Hour. I'm just going to raise the river for value and then fold to the bet 3-bet. In my experience, I don't think anybody in the world has ever folded to my bet 3-bet on the river in the history of me bet 3-betting. Like they just don't fold.
Last Tactical Tuesday with the King 6. The guy folded ace jack on the river.
That was a week ago, man. I can't remember.
I mean, he didn't really have a hand, but he folded.
Oh yeah, your
the first
your induction. Yeah, I remember. Actually, I mean, I take it back. Like I remember bet 3-betting one hand specifically where villain folded top 2 pair. I guess people can, but I think the problem with bet 3-betting on the river, and it's not even tactical. Like, what's interesting is I think the tactics go out the window when people face a bet 3-bet and they just spite call. Like, honestly.
I think what I think very much happened in this hand. This guy tanked all the way down with like 1 second left in his time bank. He was like, fuck it. Like, wow, how could I fold this? And just like click call. And I was like, come on, man. Like, do I really have a hand that's worse than ace jack here? Like, ever?
Well, you got the 7-5 of hearts. That's a funny thing to say. It's a funny thing for the man with the 7-5 of hearts to say on deuce trade jack 9
crazy.
ace.
I might be crazy, but you're even crazier, dude. Like, you think I have a worse hand than ace jack when I do this? Like, please.
What about their raise on the river? I think their raise on the river, I mean, the fact that they're like heavily considering folding, I think makes their raise somewhat questionable because, man, like you have all the good hands. I mean, you have straights, you've got sets. Like,
I mean, I think it's exactly what you just said. This guy probably was like, look, I have like a really good hand, and if I get jammed on, I'm gonna fold, but I have to like raise this for value because I beat, like ace 4s, and like maybe this dude just value bets ace king for this size, thinking that like I don't have a enough of a range that I can call like a big bet. So like I could very easily see this guy just being like, yeah, I'm gonna raise fold the river, and then he just didn't.
Yeah, like I said, I think the tactics go out the window once they raise the river. Yeah, villains, like even strong players, like they just will spite call, like I guess to call to spite their own stack. But whenever they do it against you or I, it just spites us, and doubly spites you because you just lost $100 on Tactical Tuesday.
Well, it's a drop in the bucket compared to the whatever I just gave this guy here on this end,
yeah,
so.
he just continues spiting you after the hand. Continual spitage. Good episode today. Give us feedback on YouTube in the YouTube comments section and in the village about this format, because it was pretty fun being put on the spot in real time. Maybe I can one of these days get some hands to put John on the spot and turn the tables.
Yeah. I've now officially joined the ranks of podcasters and YouTubers who make content and lose money somehow.
There you go. Congratulations. Welcome to the club.
Are you in your too? I didn't see you in your.
Today's the first time I've made money on YouTube, baby. This is landmark moment.
Oh man.
We
won't be seeing you around here very much anymore.
That's gonna do it for this episode, and only one thing left to say.
See you next week.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to Chasing Poker Greatness. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Go to chasingpokergreatness.com to get the newsletter, join the Greatness Village community, book a coaching session, or dive into the latest data-driven poker courses. Follow the show on Twitter @CPG Podcast.